Sort of. There we are.
You're
We are
live.
live.
Now I got to figure out how to get the others lined up.
Okay.
There, oh, almost.
Almost.
There we go. It's the best I can do. So we're live on YouTube, but nobody tunes in yet to the YouTube channel. We have to work on that. We have to somehow encourage people to go to YouTube.
Hello, everybody. You are live tonight on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. with Ken Goldberg. That was him. And AJ. Yeah, that's me. Yay.
You do know it's not 6 o'clock yet.
Well, that's okay. We're ahead a little bit, but that's all good. That's all good. Maybe we'll end
Well,
earlier.
then I'm going to go live.
All right. Well, I need to say it all again. Yay. Almost there too. Live. There we are live on the other one. All right. We are now live on several places. Hello. And that's Ken playing his drum. You can do a little drum beat for us to start?
Yeah, I was just trying to accompany you, girl.
Okay. So, yay. All right. So this is Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder with AJ. That's me. And this is Ken over here. I know it's Ken. What can you say? Oh, I like that one. Oh, I want that one for the next drum circle. Can I use that one in the drum circle?
Sure, of course.
I want that one. Oh, I want to use that one in the drum circle. That's awesome.
It's easier on the hands, too, but
Yeah. All right. So, Law and Disorder. Well, Ken will tell you a little bit more about the show, but let's tell us a little bit about us. So, in case you're tuning in and don't know very much, this is Ken. He is an attorney in 3 states. I know. Don't let looks deceive you. There he is. All right. So, you need an attorney for anything? Divorces? What else?
hey,
Anything.
at this
He
point,
was a very well-known criminal attorney at one time.
I can't be choosy at this point. I'm getting
Yeah.
old.
That's when the experience comes. He is also a former Buddhist monk and still teaches Buddhist meditation at the Buddhist Meditation Center in Dallas on Stoltz Road on Wednesdays at 7 p.m., which is awesome. He is also a member of recovery community. And how long have you been in recovery?
11 years.
11 years. Awesome. Hey, you know, I just got my chip. I got my chip.
I
I got my
wanted to go, but I was
31-year
injured.
sober chip. I know.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken is going to have to tell you the story in a minute about his injury. And I feel bad for him, but anyway, I've fallen off my motorcycle before, so I understand the pain, how painful it is falling off your bicycle. I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. So, and I publish Dallas Yoga Magazine and do the Cosmic Yoga Festivals. I also own Sage Properties when we flip homes. Very exciting. And so, what are we talking about today? This is my time that I'm allowed to chat. And then the rest of the time, I just sit here and shake my head.
You're so much better at the self-promotion.
Yeah,
You remember to get stuff
and
in.
what is the law? You can see us on YouTube, and all you have to do is go in.
Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder.
Right, on YouTube. And most people are watching us in Facebook Lives, different stations there. Also, your website. What's the website?
Law-disorder.com.
There you go. And also check us out on DallasYogaMagazine.com.
Yeah.
All right. So we are, well, you're either going to love us or hate us, depending on your opinion.
I hate us. So there.
And you never know.
Put one up in that column, girl.
You never know really quite what to expect.
Well,
Last week I was sick, so Ken was a little mad at me, so I have no show prep today, this much. So God only knows what's going to happen.
Solo's here.
Hey, Solo.
Kathy's
Hold
here.
on, play the drum for Solo. Solo, we're playing the drum for you. There you go. Yay, Solo. Okay.
So, speaking of hate.
Yeah, so we don't like hate.
No, I'm okay with it.
Former Buddhist monk, yes.
Marijuana bill is dead.
Yeah.
Here,
I thought for sure it was
here
going to
it
pass.
is.
Did that surprise you that it didn't pass?
Well, I was surprised they passed it in the first place.
Okay.
So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Little did I know that Lieutenant Governor Patrick of Texas was going to kill the bill first chance he got.
I had no idea.
And they're not really saying why. They're just saying that he opposes the legalization of marijuana. So it passed.
That's not
the Texas
legalizing
State
it when you're
House.
allowed to have a joint on you. That's not, I mean, come on. That's saving us money
we're one
for
of only-
prisons and
we're one of
lawyers and courts and judges. It's saving all that freaking millions and millions of dollars can be saved by passing this one law that allows them how many joints? A couple?
We're only one of 12 states now left that criminalizes any and every amount.
Right.
So there's no legal amount.
Welcome to the South.
Welcome to Texas.
Mhm.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
So I'm not done with hate yet. I'm into loving kindness.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I am.
I
But besides hating this show, I'm working on Lieutenant Governor Patrick, whatever his name is.
I just can't. What would his
Why would he
argument
do
be?
that?
Why would he not want to save millions of tax dollars money? And if people are going to smoke anyway if they choose to. I don't get it.
Well,
Why?
it's been suggested strongly that the private prison industry is very popular in Texas.
Texas, they're
and all
making money
over.
off of it.
And they make a lot of money with incarceration. So even if you don't incarcerate imprison the marijuana people, if you can fill up the jails with them, they have to move the
Yeah.
felons out to the prisons quicker,
and
they
you're
make
right.
more money.
You're right. And I'll note that I looked up and it said between 65 and 70,000 people a year are arrested for, small marijuana possession. And so that clogged millions and millions of dollars. And then if it's a repeat offense, then they're going to jail. And you're right, that will clog up the system.
And I've been a legalization advocate for 30 years.
Yeah, neither one of us smoke, but we
So-
both think it's the right thing to do.
And Kathy, and I used to interview on my old radio show that I had at KYNG.
That's right.
I used to interview Rick Day, who is head of Texas NORML, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I had interviewed him with some regularity, and I had other proponents. And there's just no foundation for the regulations over marijuana. I mean, there's no scientific foundation. There is no socioeconomic.
Well, they're even
And-
saying that, it's like when I was in high school, okay, when I was starting to use and heavily into all kinds of different things, hence sober for 31 years now. It was like that, ooh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Ooh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. So then I wanted to do it more because my little mind was a little off. And so I wonder how many people that affects with marijuana too. How many people could care less about even using it, but because it's taboo, I'm going to try it.
Matthew also thinks it's the marijuana. I mean, the prison industry.
Yeah.
So, Denver was Colorado was the first state to just legalize recreational marijuana.
Yep.
Up until then, it was just decriminalization
Mhm.
of recreational or legalization of medical marijuana. So Colorado goes and legalizes recreational marijuana,
Mhm.
and Denver makes money hand over fist.
Right.
The numbers, the age group of the people going to Denver,
Yeah, it's your right.
it's the boomers.
Exactly.
Because we
Exactly.
never got the smokes, legally.
Legally.
So now
Right.
we're rushing off and spending our money
Gummy
in
bears.
Colorado.
Gummy
that's
bears.
that's all.
And I heard that that's very, very potent. Some of them are very, very potent. You have to be careful about how much
Well, there
you
was a
take.
great article in the Denver Post about people passing out in their meals in Denver restaurants
Okay, I'm
at
sorry.
dinner
That's funny
time
as hell.
because they were overindulged. So they take a bite, and when you use an
that's so
edible,
funny.
it goes through the liver. When you smoke it, it goes to the brain. So it's less potent, more immediate if you smoke it.
Okay.
If you eat it, it has to be metabolized, and in the process of
Okay.
metabolizing, it enhances its strength. So people would chew
That's
on
why
it,
there was okay. Thank you.
and they
I
don't
didn't
get
really
it.
understand that.
So then they do some more. Anyways, at some point, they're taking in more
Way
than
too
they
much.
need to.
I heard
They're
that
going
too.
out to dinner, and they're going to sleep in their meals.
Right. That's hilarious.
All right.
Okay.
So,
I
all right.
remember those days of drinking and drugging.
So we may come back to that, but in the meantime, I just want
Joey.
I want to tell a little story.
Yes, little story.
'Cause
We're in for Ken's story.
Well,
Ken's stories. Woo!
so
It goes on for a while.
so the show we said would be about making decisions and the influence of early life,
Mhm.
and we'll go to that. One of my early life encounters,
Mhm.
I've talked about it. So when I was quite young, teenage years. No, let's go back even before teenage years. When
Okay,
I was
wait, hold on. It's going to take a minute to go back that far.
when I was 12, okay, I asked to join a gang
Mhm.
at my grade school.
Mhm.
At the time, they were known as the Pharaohs.
Okay.
there were no white kids in the gang. I was the first one to apply for membership.
How'd that work out?
Well, you have to fight your way in.
Okay.
Uh,
And you were a little guy, weren't you?
I was so little.
You
had to
fight
run
your
around
way
the-
in
I had to
that.
run around the shower to get wet.
How did you
That's the truth.
seriously? How did you fight your way in that?
Son.
By the way, you really do have a big blood stain on the back
Yeah.
of your shirt here.
That's the whole story. So I was 4'11". I was 111 pounds.
Mhm.
I was 12 years old. So I went to Gary Mitchell was the his older brother Dickie was in charge of the gang. So I went to him and I said, I want to join. And he said, okay, well, you have to pick one of
I'm
three.
surprised they didn't laugh between the scrawniness, the Jewishness, and the whiteness. They didn't laugh. I'm so sorry.
He didn't let me finish the story.
Okay, I'm ready.
Because
I'm ready.
actually he did.
Okay.
So he said, well, you got to fight either JB or these other two guys. JB was my peer. He was a little older than me, but he was in my class. And JB would never really hurt me badly. So I'm thinking, I'll pick JB if
Right.
they let me pick. Because JB will just beat me up. He's not going to crush me.
Right.
He felt bad for me. So I'm getting psyched as much as I can get psyched. Well, I figure here's my reasoning.
And
I'm
this is your
thinking-
12-year-old reasoning.
Yeah.
12-year-old
Maybe
reasoning
even
here.
maybe an 11 at this point.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
okay.
My reasoning is I'd rather take one whooping from JB than keep taking whoopings, whenever I
Right.
got caught by like the Catholic Irish kids, right?
Right. Okay.
So I'm ready, and I got an offer I couldn't refuse. And this is going to segue eventually into the
Okay.
freaking-
I'm ready. I am ready.
So Dickie comes to me one day out of the blue, and he says, "Listen, thought this over, and we're going to make you the mascot." He says, you don't have to fight anybody to get in. You've heard of beaten in and beaten out.
Yeah,
right?
but they probably was
You beat
afraid you'd
into it,
really.
you
I
take a-
understand. He was probably really afraid you would get hurt.
Yes,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure in retrospect, he was afraid that beating some white boy senseless
Right.
could be a problem because these were all black kids.
Right.
And socioeconomic category would have been beneath where I was at in terms
Right.
of, we were very middle class. So I didn't have to fight my way into the gang.
Mhm.
I was accepted as the mascot, and henceforth, going forward, they protected me
And then what was your job as the mascot?
to stay out of trouble. He said this.
He did this to help you.
He did indeed. He said to me, when we have a problem, you don't worry about it. When you have a problem, we're going to take care of it.
He took
Isn't
you in
that
as a
something?
night. Oh.
And do you know he murdered somebody?
Oh, went to jail forever.
Went to
didn't he?
prison forever. So then later on, I that gang became what is known as the Blackstone Rangers. The Blackstone Rangers became a very significant presence in Chicago. I've talked about them in the past. Largest gang that probably ever existed in the United States.
Wow.
Estimated 35,000.
Not though compared to biker gangs.
35,000 members.
Hells Angels?
35,000.
Okay.
Far in excess of what the Hells Angels are.
Really?
Yes.
I believe you.
So jump ahead, and then there's some middle, but we're going to jump ahead.
Uh-huh.
I was online today, and I was waxing nostalgic for a
Wax
moment.
on, wax off.
And if Lee, Ashley, Lori, and Martin, and Eva, and Shirley are still here, hi everybody. So I was getting nostalgic, and so I pulled up a picture of me, Chicago police, earlier today, and I posted it. And I said, does anybody remember the first name of this cop? Because besides harassing me, he was charged with a homicide later on, years later, and I couldn't remember his first name. His last name is Hauser. And he started out kind of cool, but he just got worse and worse as years went on. So there's a picture that Ken Love is from the original name. He took of me standing next to the squad car. And so I'm strolling down memory lane, right? And I remember that I did a radio show with the police commander of the gang crimes unit of the Chicago Police Department, which is a real, I mean, we're jumping ahead to where I was a lawyer.
Yes.
But for me to be on the same show as Commander Robert Dart, was an interesting transformation in life. And here's what I wanted to tell you. So I'm on the show with Commander Dart and a guy named Brother Bill. Brother Bill made himself
Brother Bill.
a frock. He made himself a frock, a monastic frock of blue jeans, denim,
Okay, that's sort of funny.
and walked around the housing projects standing in front of
Okay,
bullets.
I'm sorry, but that's fucking.
He was real crazy.
That's hilarious. Sorry,
He
I
was
didn't say
nuts.
that.
So the three of us were doing a radio show with a local talent by the name Aaron Freeman, who has tuned into our show in the past. And so, anyways, after the show, the show was on gangs.
Okay.
Okay, and Commander Dart had been a Chicago police officer for a long time. He was an elder man at this point. It was probably 94, 93. And so after the show, he comes up to me and says, you're kind of cool.
He obviously didn't know you very well.
Yes, I
I'm
said, well,
totally
you're
kidding.
kind of cool too. So, where did you grow up? And I told him. And he said, that used to be my beat when I was Gang Crimes Intelligence Unit. So before they became the Gang Crimes Unit, Chicago Police Department had what they called Gang Intelligence Unit.
Okay.
And they were plain clothes. There was nothing of it. They weren't really an intelligence unit. I mean, they were just out there. They were unmarked cars, but everybody knew they were
Well,
cops.
they're undercover. Yeah.
Well, the Gang Crimes Unit and the Blackstone Rangers had a war.
That's not good.
Right. And here was one of the fascinating things. So I knew about this event that took place in Chicago where the Blackstone Rangers ambushed the Chicago police.
Oh, that's not good.
Ambushed, killed one. Okay. And
Yeah, not good.
so Robert Dart says to me, he says, do you remember that incident behind the hotel?
Mm-hmm.
They had the Blackstone Rangers taken over. And I said, yeah, of course. Everybody from that part of town remembers.
Sure.
It was a big deal.
Of course it was.
So he said, I was in the car. I'm like, you're in? Yeah, he was one of the 4 police officers in the car. The guy in the back seat
That got
died.
ambushed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he told me the story about how it all happened.
Mm-hmm.
How they were driving down this alley, and I said all of a sudden, like a park bench, he said, came flying out of a window of the hotel, so they couldn't drive forward. And when they tried to back up, somebody, behind them threw something else out into the alley, and they couldn't back up. And then they opened fire on the car.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the bullets went through the trunk into the back seat and hit one of the officers. Now, these guys were not well regarded. They went around slapping people, and
right.
They were a rough group. I didn't know them.
Right.
Wow. My participation in the Blackstone Rangers had evaporated before this. So we were reminiscing.
Wow.
So he was a real nice guy, and I enjoyed chatting with him. I didn't see him again. He's got to be retired by now because this article says that he was appointed as head of gang crimes
a long time ago.
Yeah, he had been in the department 30 years at that point. So he was appointed, I guess, in 91. Mm-hmm. And I met him sometime after that. I tried to reach out to the talk show host, Aaron, to ask him if he remembered doing that show with me. He didn't respond yet. So I think, by the way, the police department won that war.
Well, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, so they wreaked havoc on the Blackstone Rangers, who were mostly kids, they were teenagers. And Jeff Ford, who led the gang, he's been in prison for 30 years. And then I talked about being on LSD and meeting the other head. Right. Yeah, so he went to prison, but he got out and retired because somebody shot him right away. So now let's segue into the point of the show. Okay.
Oh, there's a point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the show theme that I was promoting, let me pull it up so I don't have to make it up again. I can just tell you what I said it was going to be. All right.
Somebody's calling you.
Yeah.
You're popular.
You know what? No, it's
what
we're talking about. Tell them about it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I was showing Ken that between today and yesterday, I've had over 10 scam calls or just total BS calls on my phone, and it's getting worse and worse and worse over time. And I remember when they had that no call list, and now I don't think they have that no call list thing anymore because obviously it's just ludicrous. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. I won't even answer my phone.
I'm getting them
anymore.
Sometimes 2, 3 in a row. They're always
Yeah.
trying to sell me insurance.
And all these different numbers. And so if you're calling me and your phone number is not in my thing, text me or leave me a message, because obviously the scammers aren't leaving me a message, except for the IRS one that's telling me that they're going to come arrest me right now because my taxes aren't paid. Yeah, don't fall for that one. Okay, let's see here.
So here's what I said tonight's show would be about.
Let me read it.
How to address the
There you
problems of our upbringing.
There we go.
Exploring how our family, school, friends, etc., affect the way we subsequently interact with our world as adults.
Yep.
I went on to say that that I've been involved in every kind of intervention that I can think of. You know, they put me in psychiatric care when I was young. I mean, when I was about 14.
Right.
I saw a psychologist when I was 15.
You think maybe that would be a good idea when you go to
psychiatrist.
the black gang as a Jewish white boy and asked to join it, that maybe you might have some kind of
That's
mental
not
issue?
why they sent me.
I know, but that's just that shows a little bit about your mentality at that point, baby. It's okay. He thinks it's okay. No, that's not. Regular people probably wouldn't have done that, honey.
No, none of my friends did
Isn't
that.
that crazy? So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Never really thought of it that way, did you?
No, I didn't. So
Oh
here,
my God.
I've been through all types of interventions and therapies, 12-step recovery, meditation, and, you know, so, but, you know, I still have so a lot of the same stuff keeps coming up. And that's the photo I was telling you about. I posted on the internet. That's Officer somebody Hauser. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
me.
That's you?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, look
So
how
I posted it on
cute.
Facebook. Cute. Nobody ever looked at that photo and said
Wow.
cute.
Well,
So
it looks like you're pulling a gun out of your.
yeah, I know, but I promise you, with the cop that close, I was probably
That was a
reaching
little
for
scary. Well,
identification.
you're freaking lucky he didn't pull his gun out and shoot
Oh, he
you.
did one other time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, same cop. He followed me into a park one night, late one night. Wasn't that late, it was nighttime. And I was walking to a party, and I saw an unmarked police car coming just as I crossed the street to get in the park.
Right.
And they were driving down the sidewalk in the park. Nobody does that except the cops,
Right.
right? You know, so they're following me. I'm just trying to be cool, right? I'm not doing
Trying
anything.
is the key word
Well,
here.
because I'm scared
I'm
anytime
kidding,
a
of
cop,
course.
even to this day, cop pulls up behind my car, I start looking at my, you know, what am I doing wrong, right? So, yeah, so I knew this guy. I mean, I talked to him,
Right.
and all of a sudden I hear, he says something to me. I don't know who it is. I just know it's not my police car. He's turned his lights off, by the way. He's just following me. It's dark. And he says, what do you got in the bag? Did I tell you this story?
No.
Oh, yeah. So I said, it's a 7-Up. There's a can of 7-Up
Mm-hmm.
in a brown paper bag, you know? So he said, let me see.
That is a little weird. Why
You know,
are you
so I
carrying a
reached
can of
in
7-Up?
and he's holding this
Oh,
stainless
nice.
revolver. He's pointing it at me. I'm 17 years old. I'm not, you know.
I think I would have put it down, back up, and said, no, go
So
ahead.
he said,
You
take your
can-
hand out the bag. I took my hand out the bag. Hand me the bag.
There you go.
So he takes the bag from me, holding the gun on me, hands it to his partner. His partner, it's got the bag, looks at it and says, what's in the bag? You know, he says it's a 7-Up. That's a lot of
That's
drama.
really not
Oh.
funny. That's sad, though. You're
Oh.
walking through a park with a can of. Was it past curfew or
No.
something?
No.
Oh my God.
No. So, anyways, so my encounters. So let's say this. So from an early age, we've got family engagement. You and I were talking on a previous show about incarceration, the value of incarceration, the value of decarceration, or whatever you want to call it. And Kathleen, who's not here tonight, she said, why don't you talk about solutions? Well,
Right.
we're not going to quite do that.
Right.
But so then David Brown calls me this afternoon because he reads what the show's going to be about. Son of a bitch, he's in Washington, D.C., and he wants to talk about it. So he says, well, tell me what, you know, he says, I know your dad was rough. Tell me what your dad did. So I thought about that.
Right.
You know, so, okay. So from an early age in my situation, we're just on my situation, then we talk about you.
Right.
I'm getting slapped around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to school. You know, I mean, school age. And I got teachers hitting me.
Yeah, back then that's what they did. People who are watching
Right.
us who are younger, Catholic school. I remember. Oh my God, the boys in particular. Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a little, the last time I got hit in school, I was in third grade.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like I was a teenager. Or it
Well,
wasn't
this
like
went all the
seventh,
way
eighth
through
grade.
eighth grade in the Catholic school I went to. Those boys were being
Well, they
wow.
stopped hitting me when I was in about fourth grade. So I remember this one teacher hit me like with their knuckles, bam, upside the head. Another one pulled. Anyways, doesn't matter. So the teachers were hitting me. Kids in the playground were chasing me. Then I become, and then a teenager. And I tried to integrate as a freshman in high school, but I told you I'm 12, so I'm awkward at best, right? Beware the deadly soda, right?
But you
So,
weren't 12 when you were a freshman in high school.
yeah.
No, you're 14.
You don't you ever pay attention when I tell my stories? I was 12 years old.
When in the ninth grade?
Yes.
Okay, when did they start you in school? They just didn't want you home, did they? They just were like, get this mofo out of here. And we're going to put him in kindergarten when he's 3.
I went to kindergarten, and when it was time to go to first grade, I didn't make the cut
Okay.
because of my birthday.
Okay.
So all the other kids on my block got to go to first grade, and I wasn't going.
Okay.
I was going to have to stay
Well,
in
how did
kindergarten.
you get ahead 2 years then?
So I cried a lot.
Okay.
I cried because I didn't want to get left behind.
Right.
So somebody came up with an idea to send me to this local private school in Hyde Park, which is near
Okay.
my. So I went there for a year, and then my father probably didn't want to pay the tuition, put me in public school. But now I'm a transfer student from first grade. I'm not in kindergarten. So now
Oh.
instead of going to first grade, I go into second grade.
Okay.
So now I'm in second grade. Then they decide that I'm really smart. Wrong. Wait, I'll explain. I wasn't really smart. The private school was very smart, and it already taught me most of everything that a
Right.
public school would. So the public school thinks this kid knows the answers to all the questions. He's really smart. So they skip me a grade. So now they make me a February graduate, and Chicago decides they don't want February graduates. Everybody's got to graduate in June. So what are they going to do? They either got to hold everybody back or kick everybody forward. That's the only way out,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they double promoted me again.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. I
Well,
really
you
don't.
weren't in Chicago.
No, but I thought you said you
Oh yeah,
shared
Well,
that.
I told
don't
you I was
remember.
12.
Well, I
Yeah.
know, but I thought maybe you were exaggerating. I didn't sink in until just now that I was 14 when I was.
Well, and it was a bit of a problem in gym because remember I told you we were naked in the
Well,
swimming
no.
pool.
Oh, now it really is a big deal.
I hadn't a hair on my body.
Oh, and then you were with the boys who were all.
I didn't have a
poor
drop of
thing.
testosterone yet.
Oh no, you poor baby.
Took a hair on my head. I didn't have hair on my body.
You were with young men. Oh,
Yeah, it was uncool.
Really?
It was
Well, it was
uncool.
uncool making you swim naked in public
Well, that
school.
was
Still
another
don't
issue.
believe that one. Still.
So what was so we're shaped.
Yes.
We're shaped. And the only other thing I was going to say is I probably had maybe 50 encounters with the Chicago police.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, I was in custody over and over and over and over and over and over again
Right.
for short periods of time. And maybe just pulling
Did
me
it,
over.
after a while? Did you just like at that age, especially as a teenager, did you just not care anymore? Was it just something?
No,
that
you're always
happened?
scared.
Are you always
Oh
scared?
my God. Yeah, I was afraid of going to jail.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm post-teen. Okay. So I got involved with this church group. Very helpful. Thank you, Daniel. Very helpful.
Mhm.
Right. Take me from being a full-time criminal
Right.
to a part-time criminal.
Okay.
The rest of the time, I'm really working with my peers,
Okay.
trying to help them to kind of do something
And how
constructive.
old were you here?
17,
Okay.
16, 17.
All right.
And that was the church called the University Church Disciples of Christ.
Okay.
To this day, I don't know who the Disciples of Christ are,
Okay.
but they had a church
And you
And they're
went to it,
very
you liked
liberal.
them.
Very liberal.
Obviously,
Didn't
that was a
try-
good church.
Didn't try to proselytize you or anything.
Right, that's what I'm
Just
saying. It was a good church.
embraced us.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was awesome. Just
So
love.
I got involved with Reverend Lowell Callahan. So I was talking to a guy, he's in Canada. He grew up in the neighborhood. He reads my blog. And he reaches out and he says, I really appreciate your blog. You're talking about this neighborhood at a time when he lived there, a little younger than me. And he said, it's so hard to convey to people the ambiance of growing up in this environment. This environment was very diverse. I went from a neighborhood called South Shore, where I told you I joined the gang because I was tired of getting beat up.
Right.
And the primary reason I would get beat up is either because I was small or because I was Jewish.
Right.
So at the age of 14,
In the
I got.
loosest sense of the word, Jewish. You
Well,
weren't
yeah.
going to
Well, I
temple.
was going.
Oh, I didn't know you did
until I was
that.
13.
For some reason,
Oh
did you
my
get bar
God.
mitzvah?
Yes, I did.
Why did I think you did not get bar
Oh,
mitzvah? Oh
I-
my God. Okay. Oh, I apologize.
Yes, that is where the Blue Gargoyle is. Kathy's asking. So there was a coffee house inside of the church that they called the Blue Gargoyle.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Don't really know what name it is. And so they had cheap food, and we would go in there and hang out, get out of the cold. Chicago gets cold. And so this minister, and Jim says, how's the minister doing? I've tried to catch up with him. He's up in Cornish, New Hampshire or something. And he's very hard to communicate with. He became a missionary overseas. But what a fabulous guy he was. And
Well, he saved you probably.
well, he certainly helped a lot.
I
gave
didn't mean
him all
save in the
credit.
sense of religious sense. I meant
No,
saved
no.
your life.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
Listen, if I didn't tell you this before, I thought I may have. I got elected. So he got with me.
Mhm,
I found out years later why. He found me on the street.
mhm.
He came up to me, and this is the God's truth. I was waiting to pull a heist for one reason. The Chicago Police Department were hot on my ass. I was scared of going to prison, and I had come back to Chicago from San Francisco for reasons I don't need to go into right at the moment. But anyways, I was literally standing on the corner, 57th and Harper. Chicagoans will know where it is. When he came up in his car, got out, started talking to me and said, got me a grant from the Bob Johnson Foundation or something. He says, we're going to start a program. I want you involved. And you guys are going to run the program, not me, yada, yada. He's telling me, I went home that night.
Genius. That's exactly the way they taught us in the gang task force to talk to the kids. Get the kids involved, get the kids running it,
Man, I
have trust the
spent
kids,
that
let them do
night
it. Yeah.
thinking about,
Yeah.
we could do this,
Yep.
we could do that. So I ease on down
Yep.
to the
That's
church,
exactly how you
cool
handle
as a
it.
cucumber, because, I ain't going to show I'm interested, right?
Mhm.
And I'm talking to him, and so I buy in,
Right,
okay? So I start recruiting my friends.
right,
And my friends went from 8 to 80 at the time.
right.
So, yeah, they weren't
Sort of like now.
they weren't all teenagers, right? But I'm recruiting them like oh, get out, right? Because I'm very excited about this. Well, I got arrested for, I don't remember all the crimes, but I got arrested the day that we were going to launch.
Oh
The
my
youth group.
God.
So I'm in jail, and they're having a meeting at the minister's home. He had an apartment.
And they're wondering where you are.
Well, I don't know if they were wondering or not.
I'm sure they were.
So I get my mom on the phone. I'm like, you got to get me out of jail. So she comes, she gets me out of jail. And I say, you got to take me to Reverend Lowell's house. We're having a meeting tonight. I'm supposed to be there. Can you believe that? 17 years old. And I'm telling my mom, first thing out of jail, drop me off at the minister's
Yeah.
house. So I walk in. What? You're the president of the group.
You had just gotten out of jail. Did they know you had just gotten out of jail?
Yeah.
Oh my God. They were just so excited you were there and alive. All right.
So 20 years later, I met him, Jim. I did see him. We had a little reunion. And I said, I started a youth group. I did everything you taught me to do. It's called locomotion.
Right.
I said, but I never found a me. The me never emerged. I thought
Right,
it was a
no, I'm
very
sorry.
organic process, right?
No, it's a rarity.
He said, I chose you. I manipulated you. This is 20 years later.
Yeah.
I'm offended like
Well, what else do you think he did? That's of course. That's what I just said to you. You have to explain it. Yeah, you take those kids that nobody trusts, that nobody wants to use, and you ask them to do things for you. Will you do this? You start with little things in school. You start doing that.
He manipulated
That's
me.
exactly what we do. That's exactly how to do it.
You knew everybody. You knew every creep on the street.
He liked you. He manipulated. I don't like the word manipulated. He
manipulated me.
Okay. But he didn't. But he manipulated you for the positive.
Here's the problem.
If that hadn't happened, he manipulated you for the positive. So.
No doubt. But here's the problem. I'm trying to be him years later.
Right.
And I'm trying to be all organic and just let the youth.
You didn't know that you had to sort of use psychology on the situation.
Yeah, well, of course I'm using psychology. I'm working with some tough
That's
kids,
what I'm
but I didn't know you're supposed to choose your leader.
Well, yeah, you usually choose.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it. Yeah, no, I screwed that part up.
No, I used to do that all the time with the kids.
It worked out okay.
Yeah.
So, what was the point of telling you that story?
I don't know.
So anyways,
I liked it, but I don't know. It was interesting.
Let's jump ahead to today, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, been in recovery.
Yep.
We're both smart as whips.
Okay. Oh, well,
thank you. We both worked with kids.
Yes.
Right. The thing is, I don't know about you, can't speak for you. I still make decisions that are bent.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I work diligently mostly through meditation, somewhat through 12-step to make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know what I started to tell you. So when I was in, this guy called me from Canada, or he messaged me from Canada. I don't know how we went down that.
I know, that's pretty cool.
So he was from the neighborhood, and he said, you write about the neighborhood in a way that communicates the flavor. He said, because people in Canada don't get where I'm from. Right. He said, so I let them read your stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he said, he starts telling me about his life. Well, I didn't know it. He's a little younger than me. He sort of got in some deep due to himself and landed up going to Canada to get away from the environment. But here's what we were talking about. 6 years ago, he said, he was walking around somewhere, I don't know, Canada or wherever, and he saw some young people, and whatever he saw brought him to tears because they were acting so normal, and he just never
experienced
He didn't have that. And so I said, I had that same experience when I was 34. I went up to Milwaukee to Marquette University for an immigration class. When I got out at 5, there were these kids. Well, Milwaukee's white.
Right.
At least Marquette University was. So there's a bunch of boys and girls, probably about 18, right?
Sure, 18 to 22.
And they're on this quadrangle. And they're playing touch football, and snow's coming down, a light snowfall.
Oh, wow.
And I'm watching them, and I start crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what were you doing at that age?
Right.
At 18, the Chicago police were looking for you. You were selling drugs. You were burglarized. Right.
You missed that entire part of your life.
Yeah. I never lived in a dormitory, in college. I went to commuter schools. I went to school exclusively in Chicago from kindergarten through law school, except for my summer at Oxford, England, which, by the way, was fascinating because I stayed in a dormitory.
Oh, that's the best part of Oxford, England's education is that Ken got to stay in the freaking dormitory. All right, Oxford.
I was 35 years old.
Oh my God, that's
I was in law school, and
that is so freaking awesome.
I stayed in a dorm room. I stayed at Magdalen College. Oxford University is actually 34 colleges.
Okay.
All around the area under the umbrella of Oxford University.
It's sort of like they do in Harry Potter.
So I stayed at this beautiful campus. And the room's tiny and cold, but it's got a fireplace because it was built in probably the 1500s, right? They didn't have heating units. So we had them. So, and I spend the summer being a college. Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
I'm walking around Oxford at night, and the cabs stop running at midnight or something, or the buses. Everything stops at midnight. And so I'm walking a lot because I'm always out and about, right? And I
had no idea Ken went to Oxford for
there are chimneys.
This is unbelievable.
There are chimneys everywhere, right?
Okay.
because back in the day, everybody had fireplace.
Yeah.
Let's see what Daniel said. Just want to say hi. Ken is a great speaker and teacher. Got my CHL in this class years ago. I used to teach the Concealing licensing class.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I used to imagine myself, because it's summertime, so I didn't need it, but I used to imagine walking across Oxford with my scarf wrapped around my neck.
And did you
And
experience this?
well, I
Oh,
couldn't.
it was summer.
summertime.
It was summer.
But what do you call it? The frost
Yeah, the
coming
frost
from
coming,
your
yeah.
mouth and seeing the smoke from all the chimneys. I imagined I was back in the 1600s. You know, I'm already back from, whatever
went to Oxford.
adventure I
This
had.
is the best part of the whole show for me is that Ken went to Oxford for a semester.
So I keep going down these little rows, and I'm missing the point.
No, I'm enjoying the point.
So how much of our decision making is preordained, not by God? I don't mean by a supreme being. How much of it lands up being preordained? Now, earlier,
Explain what that means to
Jamie
people.
tuned in earlier
Explain what.
and said we're a combination of environment and genetics.
Okay.
Okay. Nurture versus
Exactly.
nature.
It was coming out of my mouth.
Okay.
Yes.
So the question that I raised is, first off, how much influence does this combination of nature and nurture? It's got to be both.
Right.
Okay. So there's a combination of both, and how much of it is almost irrefutable. So you go to counseling. I mean, how many people do you know have been going to see a psychiatrist for over 10 years? Well, not me. I know them. You right? And you would
My
think,
childhood.
that with the psychotherapy,
Mhm.
you could create change
Absolutely.
within a period of time that would be measurable.
Absolutely.
You would have somebody they would have ingrained in themselves the type of behaviors and actions that they want to take going forward.
Right.
But we continually find ourselves sabotaged, right?
Well, I feel like a lot of times our minds sabotage us because it goes back to our old ways and old thinking. So we sabotage ourselves a lot of times. But that's where having the right support group and community helps, because then we turn to each other and say things all the time to each other or ask each other questions to get support.
So we have influencers,
Yes.
like these people on Instagram. They call influencers.
Yeah, well, we're talking
don't
different
have that.
kind of influencers.
We have people in our life that
Support.
have been clean a long
Right.
time. They, I always talk
We
about the
admire.
Ashleys. The Ashley's probably gone, but I always talk about her. I talked about her yesterday because when she arrived here years ago, before she left, because she's watching. Anyways,
But we miss her.
she was kind, and I would watch the way people interacted with her.
Mhm.
And I used to say to people like Lee Ashley, I thought they were born that way. They're just nice people.
Right.
And I admired it. I thought, that's so nice. They're sweet. And I would kill to defend sweet people because, I'm designed as a warrior. You're designed to be nice. So you need to be, you don't know how to bark. So you just go ahead and be sweet. I'll kill that son of a bitch. That was my attitude.
I
right?
understand.
But, in talking to Lee Ashley a lot.
But that's not reality in my life. That wasn't
Well,
reality.
I found that
Because I could flip on a coin.
Well, when Lee Ashley's talking privately, it's
Yeah.
not so nice all the time, right?
Well, yeah.
She's struggling, but she's got, she's thinking it through, and she knows ultimately what the right thing
Exactly.
to do is.
Which and sometimes though, for a long time when I was first sober and in my 20s, I didn't know what was right or wrong. I know that sounds ridiculous,
No, it sounds
but
good.
it was like, well, I don't know. I think this is the way to do it. And usually if the way I chose was just not the right way to do something. And then after I'd be told, no. Why'd you do it that way? You should have done it this way.
And here's something else then you've heard. Okay, people walking in 12-step meetings
Mhm.
and they say, well, I'm having to learn not to care what other people think of me, right?
Right.
I got there and said, I got to learn to care what people think
Right.
of me. Because I've been going around going, I don't care what you think. Right.
Right. But everybody's different. Yeah.
So I came in and said, I really have to learn to care.
Right.
I don't know if Jim's still with us. Jim and the Tucson group will remember there was a guy, Charlie. Charlie was already old when I started going to meetings in Tucson. But Charlie used to come most mornings and he would talk about coming to the meeting, and he would take the bus, and how he would talk to the bus driver, everybody on the bus. He made a point to be nice and
Right.
talk to all of them.
I think I
and
love
that's-
that.
And he went throughout the day like that. and
Never
I'm
met.
like,
I've never met a stranger.
right. But that wasn't my attitude
Exactly.
at the time. Another thing I did, and Matthew, if Matthew's not gone, he may not want to hear this, but this is my when Matthew first came around, Matthew, he's so acerbic. Oh, it was like me,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
So you'd say good morning to Matthew.
Right.
You wouldn't get a hey Ken.
Right.
You know, you'd get
Standoffish. Right.
It wouldn't even be standoffish. It'd be
Okay.
yeah. I so
I got that today when I came over. You just sort of sat there and stared at me. I kept going, "What are you doing?"
So I remember thinking to myself, well, in time, because when I first got there, people would say, "How are you doing?" And my standard line at that point in my life was, "Well, how's things? Oh, my life sucks, but you don't want to hear about it." And that did really just as kind of a joke. But you know, after listening to Charlie, I said, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be funny like that.
Well, every time you say that, you reconfirm it to yourself that you think your life
Maybe
sucks.
so. I had never thought about it. So I started saying, I'm excellent. I'm
Stop saying
excellent.
that.
Thank you for asking.
Yes.
And I started doing that every day.
Mhm.
I started changing my
Absolutely.
responses. I'm
Absolutely.
trying to develop new
No,
habits.
that you know that makes a huge difference. If you keep, I mean, you were putting yourself down every time somebody asks, "My life sucks," my life's, and if you keep telling yourself that over and over, you are truly going to believe that. But once you change your pattern, like you're discussing, you're not going to believe your life sucks then.
Like to think my life doesn't suck.
Well, you kept telling people it did.
Well, I'm saying it's been many years.
But you get my drift.
Many years.
Right.
So I started changing the interactions. And that helps.
Right.
But at the end, I guess back to the point is how much of our almost innate response, our compulsive response
From when we were younger.
is
Right.
just all of this stuff. And do you ever? So when you meditate, you begin to do something that's helpful. So you're sitting there, you're being quiet, you're focused on the breath, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm mad at Jim. You know, that son of a bitch.
Mhm.
You know, he's got no right to talk to me like that. You know, I need to set him straight. And I'm like, that was 3 weeks ago.
Right.
I've seen Jim since. Been no crosswords between us. Why am I here?
Right.
Why is this going on? Why do I manufacture this resentment now? You know, what is it in me that makes me
Right.
want to go back? And when I lived in the temple and I was a monastic, you know, wearing the robes, and they made me meditate a lot, man, it was like unleashing this horror film
Right.
of resentments.
Well, it's all coming out. It's all coming up.
So I'm able to say now, look at that stuff, but it doesn't stop it from arising. It only stops it from rooting.
Right.
It doesn't
I like
get
that.
its
That's a great way to put
tentacles
that.
in like it
That's
used to.
that's a great way to put
Because I used to get angry, and once I got angry, I would, because
Right.
I'm angry. I know how to be
it.
angry.
Right.
I didn't know how to stop being angry, so I didn't even try. Now I got to try. But I like to think that at some point in our lives, we overcome. But I don't know what mechanism that is. Buddhism says it's, you know, to not attach. So you don't attach to pleasure, you don't attach to pain. You try to stay in a place of neutrality. A lot
In
of
the
people
now,
think
right?
that's a bad thing, you know, like, oh, well, what fun is neutrality? Neutrality's fine. It really is. You're still
Yeah.
going to have feelings and they still arise. And, you know, if you were to get hurt, even if no matter how far down the meditation road or towards enlightenment, I'm going to feel bad. You're my friend. I don't want you
Right.
hurt,
Right.
you know, but am I going to get neurotic? Am I going to say, how could this happen to AJ of all
Yeah.
people? You know, like,
Yeah.
well, because if she's alive, it could happen to her, right?
Right.
You know, I mean, you and I both, I'm sure we're old enough to have heard many, many times in our life, how could that happen to such a little person? And you're like, it is tragic, but why are you asking why? I mean, if you're made of flesh and blood,
It
you're
happens.
vulnerable.
Yes, we are.
Cars run you over, toxins come into your body, things happen, viruses, diseases. So, anyways, you know, I don't go there anymore. I kind of sit in this place of, Yeah. Like I'm really mad that my friend Gary died of cancer, but I don't really ask why Gary.
I don't ask why. I don't know if I really ever ask why. I know a lot of people do, but I don't know if I was ever one of those wires. I don't know. I know that when I was first came in at 24 into the 12-step program and into intense psychotherapy and everything, I was diagnosed with a certain mental disorder. And then now I take that same test that I was diagnosed with back then. And now I've had 30 years of recovery and 30 years 12-step program and 30 years of off and on therapy, counselor therapy and psychiatrist. Now that test is completely different. It doesn't turn out the same as when I was first sober. So that disorder doesn't exist the way it did back then.
Well, next I want to talk about Danny. Yes, Matthew, I was talking about you. He said, who, me? And he says, live ducks and then you fry. I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing it's a veiled threat. Anyways, so Danny.
Yes.
So I fostered Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny was 10 years old when I was first assigned to his case in the juvenile court. And then,
is this the one that ended up coming home with you?
Right.
Yes.
So he came home.
Yes.
Well, when he came to me, they provided me with his court file.
I can't imagine this poor kid. Oh, you're going home with this dude right here.
He knew in his heart it was better than where he was going to go. So
I
he
know.
was pretty good about it.
I'm just laughing.
But his file said he'd had a psychological exam and an IQ test
Mm-hmm.
and an IQ of 70. And in there, they identified that an IQ of 70 is borderline retarded, I think is the word they used. So I'm watching Danny. He's now living with me, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, boy, he ain't retarded.
Right.
He
He's
can't,
fine. Yeah.
he can't read. We read to him, but other than not being able to read, and
He
obviously he was not well educated.
Right.
He wasn't stupid.
Right.
And so.
But if they give him a test to take and they can't read, of course they're going to score low.
Well, so what I did was I went to the court and I said I want him tested again, and this time I want a black psychologist because I want to eliminate bias and stuff. So, anyways, so they sent him to another psychologist. The court paid for it, or DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. Came back the same. So, but this time I called the psychologist and I said, "Listen, how do you come up with 70?
Right.
This boy's pretty sharp." And here's what he said. He said, you are probably under the mistaken impression that an IQ is set so that you're born, because that's what I believe.
I guess.
If you were born with a 100, that's your IQ. Your education may go up or down, but you're like, and he said, no, you can lose IQ. Mm-hmm. He said, the problem is when you lose it, you don't get it back.
Oh.
He said, Danny ain't getting back whatever he lost. And he said, here's why he lost it probably. He said, and there's a black psychologist said the problem in a lot of inner city black homes is, he said, one of the things that enhances IQ or keeps it stimulated is travel and reading.
Right.
He said, but most of these homes you're working with, they're not reading and they don't travel. Right. So without the stimulation, your IQ can falter. So he said, there's no telling where Danny may have started out his life. But he went down.
Okay, that's really interesting because the IQs in the United States statistically have fallen. Okay, so so I find that very interesting that you just said that. Are they fallen because more and more people in the households aren't as educated as they used to be? I thought it was because more and more people. They're saying it was because the college educated people with masters and doctors have less children than the ones who aren't educated and and they're having more kids. So the IQ is now falling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I believe that would be contributing to the problem, right?
Right. No, it's a huge issue. But what you just said that would explain that part to me. That sort of went, yeah.
Oh, it's a non sequitur. Live ducks and then you fry is life sucks and then you die.
Oh.
Thank you for clarifying. So here's a problem that I have foreseen and I've been writing about on the internet and nobody gives a crap, but I've been saying that the problem with today's political establishment is in an effort to increase capital for larger companies cutting taxes, creating more wealth in the well-to-do,
Mhm.
less wealth at the bottom. So with less tax money available, we have cut back on critical things,
Well, critical
education
thinking
and critical
in
thinking.
schools.
So now here's the problem I foresee. We already know it's a foregone conclusion. All you have to do is look. Okay. Hispanics will outnumber all others in the United States eventually.
Right.
Hispanics will be the political force
Right.
in the United States. There's no stopping it.
Right. Right.
You know, how well educated, how well prepared will they be to take over what would have been the largest economic force in the world, the largest diplomatic force, the largest military force? It seems to me it would behoove our future to make sure that these young immigrant kids, young Hispanic kids, are getting better educated than we're offering them, to give them an opportunity to travel, and black kids too. I'm not, you know, this guy, he talked to me for a couple hours. He was Uber in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And he said, well, don't you think it's a problem that in the black community, it's often perceived that the successful people are people who have made it in the music world or in the athletic world? And I said, sure, there's a problem there. In contrast to, I watch MSNBC and CNN every day,
Mhm.
and there are a plethora
Right.
of black pundits who are obviously well educated
Mhm.
and who are beating the drum and saying, listen, the amount of intellectual talent that's not being cultivated
Absolutely.
is a disaster.
It is.
And when you listen to these professors, some of these pundits are professors. They ran campaigns. They worked for President Obama or they worked for Clinton or something. They're obviously, there's no shortage. But if you're not there to groom it,
Right.
if you don't cultivate it, then all that talent's dying. The IQ is going
Right.
from 140
Well, no, it's a fact in the United States. And it's
down.
very true.
It's
Yes.
going down. And so you
Exactly.
lose that. And then some people say, well, what if that kid was the one that was going to come up with the cure for cancer or, perpetual motion or whatever it is? And you're like, yeah. And I told this guy in Washington, D.C., I said, there was a study done many, many years ago, back when I was working with kids, and it said as follows. I'm paraphrasing. Back then, Rockefeller was big money.
Yes.
Today it would be Amazon. But
Right.
everybody should know who Rockefeller is. Okay.
Our age group. But go. Yes.
Yeah. So
But even they're
Amazon.
in the history books.
So let's say Amazon or Gates.
Okay.
Let's say Bezos or Gates. He essentially said that an idiot son, retarded idiot son of a Bezos or a Gates will succeed, whereas a young Puerto Rican kid
Oh yeah.
with an extraordinary intellect,
Hmm.
extraordinary IQ will fail. Why? Because it's all about who you know, right? So I could be the idiot son of Jeff Bezos. He's going to get me a job, right?
Right.
Somebody's going to hire me, even though I may just take up a space because, it's all about connections. Mayor Daley in Chicago, the first one,
Hmm.
he had a son that couldn't pass the insurance test.
Yeah.
He went to all the classes, couldn't pass, but he didn't have any trouble getting a job in an insurance firm. Everybody wanted to do business with the city of Chicago, insurance business, legal business, whatever. So he didn't have to steal money.
Right.
Mayor Daley, they tried to find him. He didn't steal money. He stole favors. He made sure that whatever he needed was provided for, and it was a quid pro quo, but there was no trail. There was no money trail. And his son, the second Mayor Daley, he learned from his father. They never caught him either, right? So, so the shaping of events, we put so much, how many times do you recommend to somebody, you should probably go to counseling,
right?
Or you should probably get sober. We can make all kinds of recommendations, but at what point is somebody able to turn it around? You and I have turned around turns that we don't use today. So we don't get high. That's a coping skill we don't have anymore, or a coping technique.
Correct.
It's not a skill, right?
Correct.
So of necessity, we have developed other techniques for dealing with our problems, but we haven't necessarily changed the nature of our problems. I mean, I like to say there's no problem I can have. A drink or a drug won't make it worse.
Right.
So I know that.
Right.
But I sure would like to stop having the same old problems. Relationships is probably the number one
Well, that affects both of us because of
way.
how we were raised in our childhood and our fathers, and that affects both of us. I mean, and that's difficult, but you do have successful relationships today. Whereas when you first were thank you. You and I don't have a successful friendship. That is a relationship. Do you not have relationships with all those people in recovery? Do you not have relationships with people outside of recovery? Okay, yes, you do. Because when you first came in the program, you didn't have those.
Not here, not there, not anywhere.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's how you define relationship.
So if it's nature and nurture, and we're letting the inner city die, we are.
Well, and a good example of this is, okay, so my adopted son, who was illegal, he is legal now, and he had a whole group of friends. He was the only immigrant in this entire group of friends who, when he came over, was not legal. Okay, and the others were all born here. And out of that entire group of friends, he's the only one who went to college. He's the only one who right now is giving back to the community. So what made him different than all that? What made him turn around?
Yeah. So you have a theory?
I think he didn't want to live in poverty anymore. I think that he saw and I was able to say, hey, this is what you can have if you do it this way. And the kid listened.
When I was
he was willing.
I was in boarding school, and my roommate in boarding school at one time was his name was Bernie. Mm-hmm. Bernie was Puerto Rican. My boarding school was 300 kids, like 260 white Anglo Protestants, Saxon Protestant. No, 30 Jews.
Oh, okay.
5 blacks, 2 Puerto Ricans. Okay. So Bernie and I bonded, and Ernie. They were from New York. They were from a city. Most of these kids were from
the suburbs.
Yeah. And they were urban kids. So the second year, Bernie and I became roommates, and I got in trouble, as you now know. I got expelled from boarding school.
Several.
No.
How many?
I went to many schools. I didn't get expelled from them.
Well, you left before you were expelled then.
That may be true.
Okay, there we go.
So Bernie comes to me one time and he says, you got to, people say you're using weed. You have to throw it out or I'm going to get a change of room. And I'm like, calm down, dude, And he said, listen, this is what he said. I'm here on a full scholarship.
Right.
He said, I got nowhere to go.
Right.
I ain't going back. I go back to the Bronx.
Right.
And so I got the message.
Right.
As
but
it
you
is,
still got busted.
I still got busted. I still got thrown out, but he didn't get implicated.
Right.
And he did go back to New York, and I don't think he went to college, and but he had more ambition as a result than I did. And I remember a kid that I worked with, Bruce, on the south side of Chicago. I was in the midst of some horrible racial strife amongst these teenagers, and there was this kid, Bruce, black kid who played sports. And he played sports, and he would go out in the neighborhood for me, hey, go put these flyers out or something, He'd come out and say, how'd you do? He said, okay, some guys drove by and called me nigger, but, I said, well, what'd you do? I don't do anything. They're ignorant. I'm like, wow, that is so advanced for a kid like that, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't let it stop him. He didn't let it disrupt his life. He played sports.
That was what they did in baseball. Who was that first black baseball player?
Jackie Robinson.
Thank you. That was in his contract, right?
What was in his contract?
That he wouldn't react to the people calling him names and throwing things at him and spitting on him and stuff.
Oh.
That they had warned him that he can't do that. I mean, if it wasn't for him, yeah.
Well, it's 7:02.
Oh, it's 7:02. All right.
So what? How do we wrap that up? By the way, is there a wrap up to something?
Is there a wrap up to something? I don't know. I think it's just everybody looks at things differently. I think you and I are different because we have worked with kids the way we have, inner city poor poverty level kids. So we see things that most of the country doesn't see.
So here's what I proposed.
Mhm,
Then we'll wrap it. Okay.
mhm,
I say it will take trillions of dollars
mhm.
and multiple generations to reintegrate the classes to having a common shared middle class value. People have to believe in this some sort of value system that bonds us.
Yes, but that's part
But
of the
when we incarcerated the inner city, for instance,
right.
we divorced them from the probability and the possibility of achieving what we continue to strive for, even though we may have missed the target.
But a lot of the immigrants coming in, okay, don't realize what can be accomplished. Okay, like my son's parents, when he told them that he was wanted to go to college and he wanted to work in an office, okay, and behind a desk and they laughed at him and said that that would never happen and that was stupid. So the cultures are different. There's a
So at least as far as the United States goes, we have to. Uh, there was a time in my life when Black kids, Hispanic kids, Asian kids, white kids, we all kind of had similar notions of what's value.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, even though Leave It to Beaver is a silly freaking TV show, there was a time when we all watched it. Of course, part of that is because there wasn't an alternative
Right.
to Leave It to Beaver. But the kids I went with didn't see the harm in it at that point because we were still all going to, try to grow up someday and get a good job and have a home or something. Well, we have disavowed the inner city
We
for
have,
Hispanics.
absolutely.
They can't do it because now we've criminalized and demonized and marginalized and disenfranchised an entire culture.
Well, yes, and they've been
So-
beaten down that they honestly don't believe that they believe that their place is where they are and not to cause any trouble and to stay exactly doing what they're doing and to
So
quit
now
school.
we've got to reintegrate people
Yeah,
into this value system, and that will take multiple generations
absolutely.
because it took us multiple generations to divorce them from the value system.
That's exactly what I always said. That's so funny you said it because I would say these kids who are first in their family graduating, they're changing the life of their kids and their grandkids and their grandkids because after that, majority of the time, once you have one person graduate from high school, then their kids will graduate from high school and move on, and then their kids, they're breaking that cycle of
Except that
non-graduating.
statistically,
I know.
okay, so Colin Powell, why I happen to
Statistically, it
like
might not be
Colin
good
Powell
after
said this in one of his speeches. He said the reality is my son, a Black boy, has a greater probability of landing up in prison than
Yes.
landing up in college, which is not to say that Colin Powell's son.
I know.
But he was just saying
Yes.
that's the probability.
Well, yes, but that's where everything else, not only do the people that are in the situation have to embrace the change, but the entire population has to embrace the change.
Right.
Right. Well, exactly.
Right. Something went wrong in the last couple of
You
years.
think?
So, anyways, that's the show. You can write in. You can call me 214-690-7797. Hire me as your lawyer. You can write Ken at law-disorder.com and criticize the show or make suggestions. Or you can do it right on Facebook. I don't care. And so we've got Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So tell your friends if they missed the show. You don't have to miss the show. You can go to YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and watch it.
Mm-hmm. All you have to do is search Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder and up pops
On
the-
YouTube,
uh-huh.
right.
Up
We
it pops
also
on
got
YouTube.
Facebook's
Mhm.
thing and you've got Dallas Yoga Magazine. I've got the Buddhist.
It's on mine. Yeah. I got the Dallas Yoga Magazine. The Facebook Live is on Amy Jo Crowell. Hence AJ. We just had a fantastic festival, by the way. It was awesome.
I talked about it,
It was
last week because
amazing.
you weren't here.
I know I was so sick. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
but I explained that you worked hard,
Thank you.
and that's why you weren't here.
I
'cause
know.
you
I was
burned yourself
exhausted. I
out.
did burn myself out. And then
Yeah.
Ken didn't share that he fell off his bicycle this week and hurt
Yeah, I
himself.
fell on my bicycle, but I brought a taser this week in case you got out of line. So listen, I spent a lot of money on this taser.
I wouldn't mind having a taser at the house.
And this guy that I knew when I was a teenager said, "Why do you want to electrocute people?" And I said, No. This is instead of shooting people with a
Right.
gun. This is
I followed that.
there's a kinder,
There,
gentler.
that's right.
Right?
I followed that.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
you get out of line now. I have a non-lethal mechanism for getting you back into your
Jay said
chair.
he's telling me he's gonna taser me if I get out of line.
So drop us a note or come on Wednesday nights to my meditation if you want.
It's at the Buddhist Center on Stoltz Road in Dallas at 7 p.m.
And yeah,
Awesome.
anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So if you go to law-disorder.com, you got some old shows, you got some blog posts, you got the whole array of stuff.
And if you have any ideas of where we could broadcast from, let us know.
Yeah. Besides Milkshake Marty, we don't really have any ideas.
I know.
All right.
Okay, honey. Bye, y'all.
Peace out.